Sup world, this is Pointless Opinions for my top 10 favorite Walking Dead characters. Now this list is basically going to be me telling my top 10 favorite Walking Dead characters from the comic and not the TV show. So basically everything in the comic to do with this character will be on this list. So nothing that Rick does on the TV show will be affected on this list. It's just what happens in the comic. Basically, I read up to comic 1 to 114. If anyone gets confused, like, oh my god, like in probably 10 years there'll be some sort of amazing character and who would definitely deserve to be on this list. But right now, I just read comics 1 to 114, and I've also read the Christmas special, but I haven't read Teresa's or Michonne's background story. I think there's a few others, but no, that's all I read. So let's get started. Now, oh yeah, I forgot to warn, there will be spoilers. So number 10 on this list is Morgan. Now, when I usually watch this type of video, top 10 favorite comic Walking Dead characters, I usually see Morgan don't place on the top 10. And this spot was originally going to go to Eugene, but I do prefer Morgan because he's a much more honest character, a better person. Plus, I prefer his personality over than Eugene's because Eugene is a bit of a liar and Morgan is an honest person. So, yeah. Plus, basically, he was introduced in the first comic and told Rick, "We're in a zombie apocalypse, I'm trying to survive, and I have a son and all that, I really care for him." So, yeah. Later on, 60 comics, or 62, I think, later he meets up with Rick. Rick finds out that his son is dead, and Morgan is officially batshit crazy, because he still has his zombie son, but basically he's killed people to feed his son and 2 dogs, and basically whenever time comes to them pass, he shoots a Shane and runs off with the other group. So yeah, he's not really much of a fighter, and shooting the Alexander break-in, I should say, by the zombies, he gets bitten and his arm chopped off, which I have to admit was quite funny, because he was like, oh my god, what do I do, and Rick's just like, says, we need to chop it off and all that. It's like, ah. And basically, one of my favorite things about him is his relationship with Carl. And basically, him and Carl, when Ben kills Billy, and Ben is, I should probably say, arrested, and people are saying he should die, he should live, he should die, he should live, Carl, basically one night when everyone's asleep, Carl just kills him. No one knows about this besides Morgan. Morgan tries to confront Carl about this, but Carl's just, I can't remember what he specifically does, but just ignores him. And on his deathbed, when the last scene when you really see of him, he just talks to Carl and confuses him with his own son and says, I'm so proud of you and all that. Which I have to admit, I really do like that about characters who are really caring parents and really do care for their own. But yeah, when I see Morgan, I feel like a much more developed character. I really want to see if the creators could do some sort of special when we see how Doe dies and Morgan going into insanity and all that. So yeah, now basically my 9th character had a bit of trouble with this one between 8 and 9. I'm giving it to Therese. Now, Therese did have a background comic and all that, and I haven't read it, so yeah. Basically, Therese is introduced after the group leaves the Atlanta camp when Shane dies, so yeah, he's introduced as Rick's new right-hand man after Shane, who's went insane. So, excuse me. So, yeah, nothing anything special about that. So, oh yeah. So basically, through his character development, he has a daughter and boyfriend. Now, I really don't like the boyfriend. He's a bit rude and, let's just say, the opposite of his daughter. At one point, his and his daughter decide to do some sort of ritual when they go have sex for the first time, which they done, and they kill themselves. Basically, they shoot each other, but Chris pulls the trigger too early and kills Shirley. Now, basically, he just sits there and cries while Therese comes in, cuddles his daughter who is naked, which is kind of weird, but she comes back as a zombie, which then the group discovers, yeah, the bite doesn't turn, so, yeah, then Therese kills Chris by strangling him and torturing his zombie's corpse by doing, let's just say, a few weird things. So when the group starts to clear out bits of a prison, in the courtyard, the group gets overrun, Therese gets left behind, and kills every single zombie which has surrounded him completely, with only using a hammer, which I really do admire his combat skills. So, yeah. And at one point, when Michonne is introduced, she starts to have feelings for Therese, but Therese is already dating Carol. Michonne forces herself onto him and he says no, but she does it anyway, and he doesn't really stop. And yeah, Michonne discovers it, and well, not Michonne, Carl. I can't say her name, but Carl, Sophia's mom, discovers it and starts to go insane. Basically, he's also given advice to, or not advice, but telling Carl that his father loves him, even though Rick and Therese's friendship kind of went into a, let's just say, curve when they got into a big fight and really never healed. But basically, he was still honest with his kid and said, your dad still loves you, that's why he goes on all the missions and all that, since Carl was downing his dad because he cared for him and his family and all that. So, yeah. Basically, he dies by one of the governor's first attacks. What was it again? Michonne decides they should go on a little, let's just say, mission to kill the governor's forces. That fails, they both get captured, Michonne escapes, Therese doesn't. Therese is used as a bargaining chip and is executed in front of the group because if the group listened to the governor, then they all would have died. And he dies and becomes a zombie head, which Michonne later puts down. Number 8 is Abraham, who is a lot like Therese. I mean, there's only a few things different, and the order kind of goes different. Basically, Abraham doesn't really trust Rick right away, unlike Therese. They become real good friends, unlike Therese and Rick, which then Therese and Rick, like, let's just say, become not very much like friends or whatever. He has a girlfriend, but cheats with on another person, and is killed talking to his friends saying, it's okay if you date my girl. And yeah, he uses guns and is a military expert. And his background story is a much more better or interesting than Therese's, which why he deserves a high spot. And he's introduced after everyone meets up at the farm. Number 7 is, what was her name again? Oh yeah, Negan. Now, most people usually put him in their top 5. I just think Negan's an all-white villain, and he's one of a kind character who really is his own personality. I mean, he's very serious, but sometimes during his speeches, he can't just go off topic and talk about, let's just say, weird things. He has multiple wives which he forced to marry, and even though some of those wives are married to others, he still marries them anyway. He's in love with his weapon, which is a baseball bat covered around in barbed wire, which he used to kill Glenn. And yeah, that's basically Negan for you in a nutshell. But unlike most villains who usually just kill and just say, oh, I want this, give it to me, or you all die, Negan is fair. He wants half of it on a regular basis. And yeah, into basically the group dies out and anything else I would really want to throw on top of that? No, not really. Number 6 is Wick. Now, Wick is one of my favorite characters and would have been my favorite if he wasn't so insane. Now, basically, Wick is a good leader, but has a dark side to him and a few crazy bits. Now, basically, ever since his wife died, he believes he could talk to her on a telephone which isn't even plugged in and all that. So, yeah, kind of crazy. I mean, you see him as a normal person, a caring person, but ever since he was introduced to the governor and kidnapped, he realized people can be terrible, and what it takes to survive in this zombie apocalypse is a tough leader. Now, sometimes he can be a little too tough and untrustworthy, which I really don't like, and yeah. Basically, when he even sees the green Top Hill community, he decides to do Negan's path and says, oh, we're gonna rob this place as well, because, yeah, we want the supplies, and which I really didn't like and all that. I mean, I feel Wick is a great leader, but can sometimes switch in between personalities of at the beginning of a normal caring person into the governor, really. So yeah, that's that. Number 5 is Glenn. Now, Glenn is one of my favorite characters. He's a great scavenger, which is a real useful person to have. I find his relationship with Maggie is really good, and that how he had a daughter and was like a family man like Wick. I mean, it's real good, but Glenn's a much more, let's just say, caring person, not really insane, and will do anything to keep his family alive. Especially how he died with Negan. So, yeah, that's what I like about Glenn. I mean, he's a great person, he's a great fighter, and yeah, nothing to really throw on top of that. So, number 4 is Paul. Now, me and my friend who is obsessed about The Walking Dead talk about this character a lot and how he is amazing. And when I usually told him my plan about the orders, he was kind of shocked, and I really wasn't, because, I mean, he's one of my favorite characters, he's got my favorite personality. I just really don't have any details to work with. I mean, all I really know about him, he's just an other survivor. I mean, I would like a bit more background story with him, like most of the other characters seen on this list. But what gets him on this list is his amazing ability to just kill zombies with only using his fist, and probably even people as well, since he's got amazing acrobatic skills and could basically beat the crap out of Michonne and Abraham just by only using his fist and killing probably some of the toughest, or not killing, but defeating in combat some of the toughest survivors. So, yeah, that's fact.
Good night, Jack Long.
Good night, Dad. That's just my dad saying good night. So, yeah, enough distractions. Let's continue on with the list. Number 13, 3 is Andrea. Now, Andrea is one of my favorite characters because she's a real good sniper, and that's a real good thing to have when most people would be straight up pistol going into action. And snipers really are appreciated in, let's just say, in the use of combat, I feel. Well, that's how I feel. Basically, picking off targets. Well, good against humans, not so good against a crowd of zombies. But, yeah, I do admire her skills, and with close-up combat killing Connor, which I have to admit was real amazing of her to do, and her ability to survive. Now, basically, she starts off with her and her sister in the camping group or whatever, with most other people like Glenn and all that. So, yeah, she loses her sister, falls in love with Dale, gets 2 kids. The kids die, Dale dies, she starts off all single again. She starts flirting with Spencer a little. She answers her wound when Spencer says, "Oh, forget these people, we could survive on our own." And I do like it how she rejects Spencer, because she said, "I can't do it. How dare you say that about those people? They need us. I can't be with you." And how she moves on to Rick, and they make as a couple is much more better than with the other other relationships. So, yeah. I have to admit, she is a real good fighter as well, taking out soldiers from the governor's group while moving on an RV. So, yeah. Number 2 is Michonne. I have to admit, Michonne is a really good fighter. She uses a sword and nothing really else. Now, with this sword, it's like a trademark symbol. This sword has been famous for killing a bunch of people and a bunch of zombies. Now, basically, with Michonne, I do find interesting about her, she's not a big talker, but she starts off as a lawyer who loses heaps of boyfriends, like quite literally. At the beginning of her background story, she loses all her family, including her boyfriend. She also starts dating Therese, which she loses. Morgan, which doesn't go too well, and Morgan dies. Once again, I mentioned. And now she's flirting with Ezekiel, which I have to admit, they do make a good couple and are a lot alike. Because they both use swords. I mean, they both Ezekiel is real open with her, and she's accepted that, and yeah. And the way she talks with Rick, she's a lot like him in every way, but yeah, she's a born warrior, and when she tries to be normal, she's not really much of a talking person, because at the Alexander community, when everything was normal before the invasion of the zombies, she couldn't accept being society normal again, and how they could be so carefree of the zombies. So, yeah. That's that, and time to introduce my favorite character, which is Carl. Now, I don't usually see him I see him on the top 10, I never see him on the top 1. Now, basically, why he is my favorite, because he has the best development there is. Basically, he starts off as a normal kid. He has to kill one of his favorite people because he goes insane, and he was the only one willing to use a gun. He's willing to protect his family, and when he loses his mother and sister and his dad kind of goes into a coma, he takes care of him, and yeah, I do find that real interesting. And yeah, when he's introduced into the Alexander Safe Zone community, he just finds it like Michonne, which I do find real interesting, and most of the stuff he says can be quite shocking, but goes with reason. I mean, sometimes you can be shocked, but when you later look back to it, you could think, wow, he actually is white. And at moments like this, he doesn't want to be treated like a kid. He knows he could take responsibility. He knows it's not a game, it's life he's dealing with. And yeah, that's what I do like about Carl. I mean, he's good with a gun, and even though he's got a bullet in his eye, or a missing eye, he's much more, or should I say, tougher, but a bit weaker, but still. He could still use a gun, and he's pretty tough for a kid with one eye, and a pretty, not a great shot, but good enough to kill a bunch of Negan's men, almost killing Negan, and almost getting a headshot on Negan, but aiming for the baseball bat, putting Negan into an outrage. So, yeah. That's all we have to say about my top 10 favorite Walking Dead comic characters. Please let me know who your top 10 will be. Any ideas for next week would be appreciated. This is... I was about to say something else. Pointless Opinions signing off. Please like, favorite, share, subscribe, do any of that. Really helps out a lot. See you guys whenever. Bye.